Well, a very merry, happy Father's Day to all you guys. What is up, Finn fans? Long overdue video. A few days back, let me give you the exact date, on June 14th. So we're now sitting at the 19th. So about 5 days ago, Mike McDaniel sat down with the awesome gentleman at the fish tank and he did a press conference or a little interview with them. So we're going to watch that. We're going to react to it. And also we're going to talk about what Chase Edmonds had to say. But before I jump into all that, first and foremost, I have to shout out my guy Kyle for getting himself some DDW merch. Pop the picture up there. If you'd like to grab yourself a t-shirt or a hoodie, it is, you can see the images below the video. I'm working on other stuff and other different styles besides the generic original brand. But thank you so much, Kyle, for going out and grabbing yourself some DDW merch. If you do or already have and haven't sent me a picture, I appreciate you guys, helping the channel out even more in that way, that I would love to shout you out like I did with Kyle. So be sure to send me a pic. He emailed it to me. The email is linked below. Also, again, today is Father's Day. So, I'm recording this Saturday night, but I wanted to come on here and say Happy Father's Day to everyone. I've been a father now for going on to 2 years. So Happy Father's Day to everyone. If you grabbed yourself some Manscaped, that's fantastic. It's a good product. I really do use it on my face and maintain this beard that I have. Also, one last update before we jump into all this good stuff. I am going to start changing the background a little bit for the new season. I have some frames here. You could see I got 2 frames over here that I have Dan Marino autographs and a jersey that I'm going to put in one frame, and then I have a frame behind that with a signed jersey. I have this fantastic Miami Dolphin metal layered emblem that I'm going to put up there. I'm going to be fixing up the back, making it look special for the new season, so you'll be seeing that slowly changing. But without further ado, let's jump into some Miami Dolphin football talk. And let's listen to what Chase Edmonds had to say about Tua Tagovailoa. I'm pretty sure you guys have already heard this, but let's take a listen and see if we can decipher what he's saying.
I do believe Tua Tagovailoa is the answer for Miami. I think Tua gets an unfair judgment. I mean, that's how it is when you play quarterback. I think he kind of was put in some unfair situations the last 2 years. I think with Mike McDaniel, someone who's competent, someone who's going to have a good offensive scheme, we got weapons around him this year, it's going to be a lot easier. I'm going to say that you'll see the Alabama version of Tua that people remember. So I think he was just put in unfair situations his first 2 years.
Well, there you go. That's what Chase Edmonds feels about the whole Tua Tagovailoa situation. And he's not wrong, obviously. We've all seen this type of situations that Tua has been put in, if you don't like Tua and you think he's a bust and you never wanted him here in the first place, your first reaction to this is more excuses. But if that is a quarterback that you like, then obviously it's not an excuse. It's a reason. But it is. It's 100. I talked about it in my franchise video where I talked about what the teams did for Burrow and Herbert, and what the team did for Tua. And a lot of people were like, you can't sit here and say that they didn't put players around him and yada yada. Yeah, they put players around him, but if you look at what the Chargers and the Bengals did versus what the Dolphins did, it's like saying, oh, I have a leaky pipe, I'm just going to wrap this sucker in duct tape and then it should be good, so we can flush the toilet. And that's literally what they did with the offensive line and putting weapons around him with Will Fuller, who is a wide receiver that has shown he can't play a full season. Devontae Parker, wide receiver, who has shown he can't play a full season. Preston Williams, a wide receiver. You say it. Offensive line with first and second year players. You see what I'm saying? This is the year that he has the right stuff around him, and this is the year that we're going to see, do we have a franchise quarterback, or is it time to move on in 2023? This is the year. But Chase Edmonds, another one of his players, backing him up. Gesicki's been on the record backing him up. Obviously, Tyreek Hill's been on the record backing him up. Chase Edmonds is now on the record backing him up. Xavier Howard has been on the record backing him up. I can name more players that now are coming out and backing up their quarterback. So it's good to hear. Makes me happy. But now we're going to jump into the fish tank and sit down with Mike McDaniel. I'm not going to play the entire thing. But be sure to go check them out. If you haven't followed the Fish Tank and their podcast, be sure to check them out. I'm going to try my best to get them on the channel, chat some Miami Dolphin football. But let's pop it up, and we're going to listen to Mike McDaniel with the Fish Tank.
Through the coaching ranks, and you have that pinnacle, which is to be a head coach. And when you get to your dream job, the one that you've been preparing for your whole career, at that moment is when you're the most dependent upon other people to do your job. It brings you back to what is your job as the head coach, and that's to, really, the way I see it is to serve everyone that's working for you, so that because you are quite literally vulnerable to what they're able to do, because there's just it's too big of a undertaking to do anything close to it being one person.
Right.
It's like the ultimate team on top of a team sport, where you're so in that process. It was early and often I realized that I better trust every person that I'm working with, and it's my job to pick the right people, to touch the players, for instance, as a coaching staff. And then on top of that, it's my job to really empower them. And, people get it kind of twisted. As a head coach, you really have to make sure all the people that are working with you for that ultimate goal, you have the power to give them the tools they need to do their job.
So in that period of time that we
he nailed that right on the head, because a head coach, like he said, is as successful as the pieces he puts around him, and as successful as the success of the team, and with his offensive and defensive coordinator. We've seen it with the last coach. We've seen it where if the team's not doing well, it doesn't fall on this section. It doesn't fall on this assistant coach. It doesn't fall on it's on the head coach. So they have to make sure that they bring in the right coordinators. They have to bring in the right assistants to help them be successful, because it's on them. It's 100% on them. And they also have to bring in the right players. So this whole notion that that Flores didn't want Tua, and Flores didn't want that, and Flores didn't want this, or it wouldn't make sense for him as a head coach to sit back and allow the things to happen that could have cost him his job. And that's like what Mike McDaniel said. You bring in the coaches. You need to assist the players and the coaches, because without them, you lose your job.
Good to hear. But again, all that hard work and everything to get to this point, and then it's like, bye guys, I'll see you in a month and a half.
Right.
So, like, what do you say to them when because they're grown men? You've said that you want to treat them like grown men, but
did you bug me? Because I was just talking about that today.
I prefer not to answer that with the camera.
All right. No, football is a collection of individuals working towards a common goal, in that you can't do anything by yourself. And so there's a lot of trust that has to be undergone, and you really have to trust your teammates, so to speak. And so what I talked to the team about, specifically today, as a matter of fact, is to understand that it's not only, when you're going on your days away, it's important to relax, it's important to spend time with your family, but also it's important to position yourself so that at the start of training camp, it's vital that your teammates can count on you to be in training camp shape, not get to training camp and get in shape.
Right.
Because what happens there is then you have soft tissue injuries, people have setbacks, and the team can't afford that. We're a young team, but football, the opportunity is always now, and you have to jump at that, and anything done that doesn't prepare you for when training camp starts, it affects other people. And this is you're not just affecting yourself. Understand that your teammates are depending upon you to do what's right when no one's watching.
And that, if you guys remember a little while back in his press conference, I think it was before or after an OTA practice or a mandatory minicamp practice, he talked about put the team first. It was either put the team first, protect the team, or, essentially this. Think of the team. So they're going, like you said, they're going on, Seth asked, couple weeks, 6 weeks or so of them on their own. Stay healthy, stay in shape, still do these things, because that's where you see, like he said, the deep tissue, the ACLs, the strained hamstrings, all this stuff happening, and the team needs you. Tua Tagovailoa, Gesicki, Waddle, Tyreek Hill, the offensive line, they need them. So put the team first, protect the team. That's where that saying's coming from, is don't think of yourself, think of the team.
Let's talk about when you arrived in Miami. You came here, and a lot of people viewed you kind of as a run game expert. But when we and Seth are looking back, you've had your foot or fingerprint on or coached like every single position on the offensive side of the ball. And with that expertise, does that prepare you to be able to coach both sides of the ball, pretty much every single position, because of what you know about offensive play per position, and that can tell you how defensive players should be playing as well?
Well, first and foremost, that is great investigative journalism right there. That
You
is
just got called journalists right there.
Hey, I'm on that side now.
But you're exactly right. So one of the things that really I feel is helping me do my job with the Miami Dolphins is that I've been afforded the opportunity to immerse myself in different positions, not only just interacting with guys, but more so being involved in position groups. I started in the pass game as a receiver guy, and so when you're in that room and then you transfer to offensive line, and then you're in quarterbacks, and being in the room with the guys, you have to put yourself in their shoes. When you put yourself in their shoes, you're talking directly what applies to them, not in big picture, but not only are you getting an expertise in the position that you're coaching, but you're also, on the flip side, getting an expertise on the defensive players. So as a head coach, it's very valuable to be able to speak from everybody's walk of life, to relate to them, to know the issues that they have. You don't go into it thinking that, it's not like I started my career and said I needed to do that to be a head coach. I didn't really, the opportunities that were in each walk of life, that I just jumped on those. But an unintended consequence, and something that I'm glad that I'm extremely grateful that I was afforded those opportunities, is that you can better relate to players and put yourself in their shoes, which is what they need.
Yeah, I think, comment below, I think he played safety in college, so I think he does have some defensive knowledge. But yeah, to know it's a double-edged sword type of situation, right? Because like with Brian Flores, he was very good on defense. To understand defense, you need to understand offense. And like OJ asked McDaniel, my brain's just not working properly. He's known as the run game guru, right? But he was the wide receivers coach. He worked on all that stuff. And one of you guys on Twitter asked me, if the defense struggles, are you going to blame Mike McDaniel for it? Yeah. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. 100%. He's the head coach. He's he's not Adam Gase. That's what always drove me nuts about Adam Gase. Defense went on the field. He sat on the bench. Yeah, the head coach controls the team. And like he said, having an extent knowledge of the offense, you need to also have an extent knowledge of the defense and how to work with both those guys. So yeah, it makes a ton of sense. And like I said, I think he played safety in college, if my memory is correct.
Coach, you're talking about spending time in the offensive staff and meeting. You know, the guy above you spent, I guess, whole time in the offensive room. Do you find yourself bouncing around now, though, since you know so much about so many positions, do you bounce around a little bit from meeting to meeting, or do you find yourself more in the quarterback room?
For me, I think it's important to be everywhere.
Yeah.
And so to have a relationship so that you can say X, Y, or Z to any given player at any time, and for them to respond to you, you have to have investment in their process, in their and so whether it's just coaching staff meetings, I make sure I'm involved in those. Player meetings, I'll randomly kick the door in just to keep them on their toes.
Any cool music that you have played when you do that?
It's happened multiple times. I haven't had a. Generally, I don't really have like a boom box or anything of that nature. I'll just do a shock and awe, literally kick the door in, and just keep them on their toes, and then say one or two lines that I have prepared that I think are funny. I'm not sure if they'll hit, but regardless, I just say it and exit so that
it doesn't matter. In your mind, they hit.
Oh yeah, every time.
Never misses. I love it.
Such a
so it kind of leads me to my next question here. Something that I consistently hear, whether it's people who are working with you now or people who you have worked with in the past, say about you is that you are just very comfortable being yourself. And what I wonder is, your entire professional career has been in a world that hasn't taken too kindly to outside of the box, right? This is football, oftentimes, or at least the perception, is that there's these very strict boundaries, and there's a way that you act as a football player or a way that you act as a football coach. And I just wonder if, whether it was coming up through this process or even in these 123 and three quarters days, thank you, have you ever felt the need or even pressure to conform in any way?
Yeah, I was a 22-year-old in Denver, and then as a 23-year-old in Houston was my first full-time job. You know, there was Andre Johnson in his prime, and I was a kid that played Ivy League football. So understanding that I had to have value for them to listen to me was one piece, but the bigger piece that was interjected is that if early, and it was something that just hit my brain, was that if players can smell a fraud from a mile away, and the second that you give them anything that isn't true, honest, and you know whether it's actual information that's correct or just you being yourself, people are paying more attention than you realize.
Yeah.
It's not something that I think about. I guess I've never really felt pressure because it didn't really make sense to me. If you just focus solely on how can I make them better and fixate on that, it doesn't matter how it comes across, because they want the same thing. Everyone just wants to do well. And it's really that simple. So however that manifests itself, I wouldn't know how else to be other than myself, because I don't think about that portion.
Yeah, that's a really valid point, because, and you'll be surprised how much NFL players read and react, especially to their coaches, and the fact that so many of Mike McDaniel's former players have come out to bat for him and say how good he is and what they've done for him kind of is a testament to hopefully what he can do to the Miami Dolphins. But some of the things he was saying, I was like, yeah, that makes sense, because you can't BS players. And then Seth had a great question, because when you look at Mike McDaniel, he doesn't seem to be that style of coach that a lot of, the old school and original, or OG as they like to say, Dolphin players are used to with Don Shula. And, Don Shula did it for decades. And then Jimmy Johnson, Dave Wanstead, where it was just do what I say. It was very, do what I say and blah, 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 and very nose to the grindstone and all that stuff. Whereas now the NFL's different now. It's a different animal. It's a different beast now, and it's different. You see all these young coaches, you're starting to see the older coaches kind of start to, retire and move on. Bill Belichick, how much longer is he going to be coaching? I'd say maybe about like 2-3 more years. He looks like he's kind of just like, nah. But you start to see Dable and now McDaniel, McVay, LaFleur, as I like to call him, all these guys starting to come into their own. This is going to be real interesting. But like I said, I didn't play the entire thing. It's about 35-minute interview with Mike McDaniel. Go check it out. It's on the Miami Dolphins YouTube channel. Go check it out. But that's what I got for you today. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to be breaking down the safeties of the AFC East, and then we'll be talking about running backs. I have some top 10 videos you guys want me to do. Like I said, I got a ton planned. Other than that, I hope you guys have a fantastic Father's Day. And like usual, stay classy. Fins up.